Card games have been around for hundreds of years that have manifested in many different ways, from your standard deck of playing cards that can be used for multiple games, to cards made for a single game, and card-based video games further extend the possibilities of what can be done with cards in the context of games. Though what if a game were based around cards that are used for divination? This is the kind of deck building you will be doing in the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood. Developed by Deconstruct Team and published by Devolver, the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is a narrative-driven deck builder that utilizes a point-and-click interface similar to those found in adventure games. Before we see what is in the cards, can you envision a future where clickbait-free indie game coverage is strong and thriving? You can help make that happen by joining our Patreon, which you can find by clicking the link in the description. Not only will doing this help us to continue bringing indie game news and honest reviews, but it will give you access to our wonderful and friendly Discord community. So click that link and help us to continue bringing a voice to the voiceless and fighting against the echo chamber that brings you game coverage without the heart. There have been other titles based upon cartomancy in the past, mostly tarot simulation games such as Taboo the Sixth Sense on the NES, House of Tarot on the Game Gear, and Tarot Mystery on the Super Famicom. But the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood takes a very different approach, in that rather than being a sim, your divinations with the cards will impact the lives of characters and the story. The player will control Fortuna, a witch who has been sentenced to 1,000 years of exile after she foresaw the downfall of her coven. 200 years into her sentence, Fortuna decides to engage in forbidden magic and summons a behemoth to help her to obtain her freedom. This is where the players are introduced to the behemoth Abramar, with whom Fortuna enters into contracts. The contracts involve elemental seals, and Abramar will ask questions regarding Fortuna's intent related to the seals, and the choices the player makes at this point in the game will have considerable impact on how the story plays out. The final seal also involves making a huge sacrifice, but of course we won't spoil that here. The interactions between Fortuna and Abramar are some of the best parts of the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood. The characters quickly find common ground as they have both been imprisoned in some form because of others who feared their power, and their bonding moments can be both amusing and sweet. Card creation involves implementing images of 3 different types. The first is a sphere, which is the background image and setting of the card. The second is an arcane, which will be the character on the card. And the third is a symbol, which is an item. Each image will cost points of certain types of elemental energy to use, and elemental energy can be gained by performing readings with your cards. Later on, you will also be able to regain elemental energy by destroying old cards and by sending out others to harvest energy for you. During the game, you will engage in conversations with other characters that can lead you to performing a card reading for them. Types of cards that you have in your deck will shape the future outcomes for the characters viewed through divination, and some cards will have multiple interpretations that you can choose from. This can make a considerable difference when a card can have both intense positive and negative interpretations. During the first half of the game, most of the gameplay will be focused upon building your new deck and meeting with witches who wish to talk with you, as well as have you perform readings for them. You will have the opportunity to build positive relationships with other witches who will be able to help you in the future, and also assist you in gathering elemental energy through performing card readings. It is even possible to enter into a romantic relationship if you express the desire for one, though this mechanic is implemented a bit awkwardly and can be confusing as a result. While there may be some foreshadowing to a potential romantic relationship and dialogue from another character that is interested in Fortuna, there are no signs on Fortuna's end that she is interested in any particular character. So at one point when another character declared her love for Fortuna and it was immediately reciprocated, it caught me by surprise because there was no buildup of attraction or escalation of intimacy, with the characters suddenly in bed together and moving in with each other. This being a game about witches, I wondered if I had trusted the wrong witch and made myself vulnerable to a love spell. The second half of the game involves running a campaign in witch politics, where you will have various characters that you manage as a campaign staff, and you can assign them a variety of tasks such as finding potential allies, spreading the campaign platform to different factions of witches within the coven, challenging the platform positions of other witches running in the election, digging up dirt on political opponents, and gathering elemental energy for you to use to build new cards for your deck. The allies you can make will bring potential benefits such as raising your support within a specific witch faction, or giving you new images that can be used to make additional cards for your deck. It was a pleasant surprise when I received an image of the Penitent one from Blasphemous to use as an arcane image from an ally. Blasphemous is one of my personal favorite indies, so to me this inclusion added even more charm to the game. The graphics in the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood are fairly good for the most part. The character portraits and environmental settings are well done, however the card images are a bit of a mixed bag. The majority of the game will take place at Fortuna's home, but there are occasional flashback scenes for characters that take place elsewhere. The music is decent but feels very much in the background, though that is fitting for a game of this type and creates a nice mood. Much of the music has a dreamy, laid-back, ambient quality to it that fits the setting and tone for the game, which is somewhat melancholy but with whimsical moments thrown in from time to lighten up the scene. The interface is very easy to use and learn because it is rather simple, consisting of clicking on an area in Fortuna's home that is associated with an activity that you want to engage in, or clicking on menu options in the activity areas. The most complicated activity is the card creation, but even that is fairly simple and consists of clicking and dragging images to arrange on a card, and having options to resize, rotate, duplicate, delete, or move images between layers. The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood opens with a content warning mentioning that it contains heavy subject matter like suicide, self-harm, discrimination, gender dysphoria, depression, and anxiety. While these subjects are present, they aren't the main focus, nor are they an overwhelming theme throughout. Still, those who are sensitive to such topics may want to take this into consideration before playing. The dialogue has a fairly casual feel to it, and the exchanges between Fortuna and Abramar are the best written parts of the game. How they assess their initial expectations of one another, how they playfully tease each other as their bond grows, and how they both gradually open up to each other about their fears and desires leads to some interesting character growth. And while the game does include many interesting characters and plot elements, the buddy story between Fortuna and Abramar is by far the most endearing and stands out from the rest of the narrative. There's a lot of casual swearing, so much so that it can come across as over-the-top and comical, so those who are averse to such things will probably not enjoy the writing, but I personally found it to be amusing. Something players should also know is that the only way to save your progress is through an autosave feature after certain events, and that a save can only be attached to one memory slot at a time. This means you will have to replay the game entirely if you want to make a different decision at any point that might change how the story plays out. While the developers likely did this so players would be stuck with the consequences of their choices, this can also hurt the replay value of the game because getting to the point where you wanted to make a different choice can seem tedious, especially if it was a choice somewhere past the beginning of the game. The Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood will probably take players somewhere between 6 and 7 hours to complete, though replays can go by quickly by clicking through the repeated dialogue. All in all, the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is a creative and enjoyable game that might appeal to fans of both visual novels and card games. It has an interesting story, memorable characters, a look and feel that feels thematically appropriate, and a fun system for creating your divination cards. Some of the mechanics are awkwardly implemented, especially the way a romantic relationship can seemingly start out of nowhere, and the way the save system works. That said, if this type of game looks like it might be your cup of tea, then I'd recommend giving the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood a try because it will provide an original and memorable experience. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to support clickbait-free indie game coverage. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/I Dream of Indie Games for perks like Discord access, early access to videos, exclusive videos and live stream, shoutouts, and more. The community will be happy to have you aboard.